And the Zorch Central Show is finally back. We've been on a short hiatus, but now we've finally come back, and we're going to be a weekly show now. So we have a few things to talk about today. Gamestop's in trouble. The Anthem VIP Demo was, well, kind of buggy. And EA has finally caved to Belgium gambling laws. All that and more on the Zorch Central Show. All right, and finally, we have our audio issues worked out.
We
Took
hope.
a while to, well, we hope have that fixed. We hope we have that fixed. And let me bring up the chat window so I can see anybody joining us in chat today. I had a few people actually join in chat this morning when I was doing Bike with Mike. It's a exercise program that I do Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I'll be doing it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday next week. Then after that, I'll be switching to an everyday thing. I'll be doing it every day. So it's just slowly transitioning back into it. I ride a small under the desk style exercise bike. I sit in my chair and pedal and do some weights and chat with people, basically. Need to unfluffy. Tygra and I are both kind of fluffy, and we need to unfluffy, and we're working on that because we got a better diet and everything. So, topics for today. First one, we're going to be covering what's going on with GameStop. GameStop's shares dropped down to the lowest they've been in 26 years, and about to $11.15. And because they weren't able to acquire financing enough to get companies interested in buying them. And so their stock has plummeted, and I think it's still falling. So that's usually not a good sign. If a company can't get the financing for a buyout, then that's usually not a good sign for them. Does it mean that GameStop's going to go away? Only time will tell, but again, historically, this has not been very good.
I wonder if there's something. I wonder if there's someone who will buy them out.
I don't know, or if anyone will buy them out, because basically, digital sales are basically outpacing, physical copies. Not as many people are buying physical copies nowadays. Now, those who are very adamant that they want their physical discs. They want to buy those physical copies so they can trade them in for.
Yeah, they can either trade them in. They can be collector's items. There could be a bunch of different reasons.
Yeah, and so they're very outspoken about that, especially in the console market. PC's gotten rid of physical copies a long time ago. You can still get physical copies. In fact, the Final Fantasy 14 that I use was a physical copy, and I have to get the retail version in order to update it with expansions, because I can't use the keys off Steam.
But I think that's more the exception than the norm now, isn't it? Getting there.
Yeah, it's getting there, because
you get online services like Steam, Origin, you name it, GOG. They're all sort of,
well, there's Steam, there's Origin, there's GOG, and then now there's Epic.
What's the one
Games
that the Star Trek one?
Discord.
The Star Trek one. What's that one? There's another one. The one that Star Trek comes on. Star Trek, the VR one.
Oh.
Their service. Oh, who makes that one?
Oculus
No,
VR?
no. I can't think of their name right now.
Or is it on the Vive?
No. There's other games that are not VR.
Ah,
It's
I know
I
Oculus
can't think
has
of
their
their
own
name right
portal.
now. I don't have it in front of me either.
Yeah, because I know Oculus has their own portal.
Yeah, they've got theirs, but it's not VR. It's not, is it Bungie or it's the other one that's online.
Are you talking about the Bridge Crew? The
Star Trek Bridge Crew, yeah.
Yeah, that's on Steam.
Yeah, but the Steam version installs their client.
You mean Uplay?
Uplay, that's
Yes.
it. That was the one I
Well,
was trying to remember.
Yes and no. On the most part, Uplay launches when you launch the game with Steam, basically.
Yeah, but it's still it behaves like it's its own service.
It behaves like its own service, but most people just buy their games elsewhere, and then when they launch the game, it launches Uplay, and then it closes Uplay when you exit the games. Most of the time.
Kind of doesn't.
Most of the time, it does. I've found that it did.
Well, at the time I was messing with it, it didn't close. I had to tell it not to stay open.
I think it depends on the game, but anyway, physical sales are down, and those who are buying physical discs, are very adamant about keeping them. And I keep telling people, eventually they're gonna have to just basically accept that, digital sales are going to outpace.
Well, there's the physical copies that you could order from Amazon or whatever store they might have. You can order the physical copy, but whether or not they go through the problem of printing one anymore, that's the other question.
Well, you've got Microsoft getting ready for releasing a digital-only Xbox One. Going to be a smaller, more compact Xbox One that is digital only.
I better have a bigger hard drive.
Yeah, it's going to have to be. And there's been a lot of rumors that the PlayStation 5 is now in development, and even some developers have dev kits for the PlayStation 5. Now,
are they saying it comes without a drive?
There's been no word yet on that. It's possible we may see this generation coming up may be the last one with a drive in it, because all of them are wanting to switch over to digital only, either digital only or streaming games. There's been a bigger push now to go to streaming games on consoles.
Still not a fan on that, because there's still a lot of people who don't have enough infrastructure for
that's
high speed that is not going to work well. There were the infrastructure in the country, plus so many people with data rate limits. It's not going to work with that kind of stuff going on.
But there's a big push. I mean, Google is working on starting their own game streaming service.
Well, Google is the new old Microsoft anyway, so.
Yeah. But it's not looking good for GameStop, and whether or not there will be a GameStop by the end of the year, we don't know. Will someone buy them up?
Is there anybody else besides them? Is there any competitors left?
No.
It used to be a Funkoland. Once upon a time, there was Babbage's. There used to be a few others, and
that was what GameStop. That is what GameStop came from. It was originally Funkoland, and then they bought up the old Funkoland stores. That's where they got their start. And there used to be Babbage's. There are some electronics boutique. I think some EB Games were still around, but those I believe are under GameStop's umbrella as well. And
they all got onto one ship, and then that ship sinks.
Yeah. Now, and there's also all the horror stories about consumers going into the stores and getting ripped off by managers telling their employees not to sell people new games, to sell them a used version instead, to get them to buy a used version no matter what. And it's all sorts of horror stories I've heard.
Yeah, well, that doesn't help your case much.
I know.
In terms of saving them.
It's one of those things of, it's one of those things where the company was doing really horrible, bad things, yet...
When you're the only game in town...
I know.
But now there's no games in town.
There's still Best Buy that sells games, but not quite, the way GameStop would sell them.
That's more like shopping and trying to go to Sears.
Yeah, well, I think what they need to do is they need to go back to what FuncoLand used to do, where you could actually go in, you could actually play the games. You can actually try them out. And also, they need to diversify into, marketing collectibles for games. There's
I'll be honest with you, though, it's probably too little too late.
It probably is.
I expect them to probably... There's been so many stores in the past 5-10 years that have closed down, gone under, especially in a one of the strong places you would see them is almost in any mall, and malls are dying. So they're kind of taking them with them.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of the media stores, like music and video stores. I think one of the only few that's still around is FYE.
Mm-hmm.
And Suncoast is gone, as far as I understand. I don't think Sam Goody's gone, but they're on life support. There's not many of those left.
Yeah.
Musicland is definitely
Digital
gone.
media has put a big dent into a lot of it.
Yeah, Musicland is definitely gone. iTunes pretty much killed Musicland.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of other music stores. And
see, they always used to say that it was the pirates and people copying. We have to do all this copy protection. No. It was just online sales in general. Yeah. It's iTunes and them. They were the ones that did it.
Yeah.
It wasn't the copying and all that. No. I mean, yeah, in China, it's a rampant problem, but U.S.? It was just online sales.
No. The big problem with piracy is not the kids downloading music and movies or games. That's not the problem.
That's small time.
The problem is the big outfits operating out of Hong Kong and other places that are producing in bulk, bootleg copies of music discs and DVDs, and labeling them, making them look like they're legit, and then selling those for like bargain basement prices and making millions.
I bought a copy of Dune, the TV edition, the old David Lynch version. It was the TV edition, and what I thought, I got it from Amazon, and I thought I was getting the regular one, and what I got was a DVD rewritable with a Chinese label on top.
Oh yeah. I bought Onigai Teacher years ago, and it was before it was actually released here, and it was subtitled only, and the subtitles were awful. It had the cover art and everything in it looked all official, and it had all the extras on the DVDs, but the subtitles were like beyond English. It was terrible.
Like trying to play an old Nintendo game with bad translation.
Yes.
All you bases belong to us.
Yes, or you spoony bard. A lot worse than that.
At least that one was a good line.
So, to be an end of an era with GameStop gone if they go under.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, definitely would be an end of an era, and there'd be a lot of people very upset because there's a lot of people who adamantly defend having physical media, and they wouldn't have very many outlets in order to be able to.
They'd have to order it through online services. They'd have to order it and ship it through the mail.
Order through Amazon or whatever. I don't know if Amazon does trade-ins.
No, that's going to be the thing. It's going to be lost.
Yeah.
The trade-ins. You'll never get that for an online. They'll never do that. So maybe you might find a mom and pop type shop someplace that might still do it, but
a lot of those are vanishing.
That would be the last few places you're going to probably find anything.
The ones that are, the ones like that are still around, those are retro game shops, where you buy cartridges.
Nintendos and Game Boys and NES.
Yeah, because a lot of those are vanishing. Now, I understand that the retro game market is coming back a little bit. Some life is being breathed back into the retro market. That could be what might help. Could be what brings some life back to GameStop if they go to retro games, like the old NES and Sega Genesis and Sega Master System and games for those systems. They go back to those, start selling used consoles or more modern versions of those consoles that are compatible with games, compatible with the cartridges. That might, but might not.
You're pushing your luck with that even there.
Yeah,
it's not. I don't think it's popular enough to sustain a chain like that. That's the thing.
It depends on the area. Some places retro games are really big, and it's big enough that they even have conventions, fairly large ones. And in some places, not so much. It depends on where you live.
Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of closings though.
I think one of the largest ones is in Seattle. One of the largest retro game conventions is in Seattle, I believe. But
I've seen a lot of stuff from there. That's a possibility.
Yeah. So it's not looking good for GameStop. Okay. Next topic on our docket is EA is finally caving to Belgium's gambling commission. And they sort of did it in an offhanded way. In their official statement, they said they still don't agree with Belgium's interpretation that loot boxes are gambling, and that they'll still be trying to work something out, or
it's a slot machine, but it's not a slot machine, but it's a slot machine. But don't look here; it's not a slot machine.
So what will happen is that people can no longer buy coins for FIFA Ultimate Team in Belgium. Those who have coins will be able to continue using them, but they won't be able to buy any new ones. Basically, if you want to unlock stuff, you're going to have to play the game to unlock things in Belgium.
Oh, you mean actually play the game? There's a concept for a lot of people. They actually have to play the game.
Yes, they actually have to play the game. Thing is, with those turned off, will it be like Battlefront 2 was before they rebalanced things?
Knowing EA, probably.
Yeah, probably not, you mean?
Well, yeah.
Because when EA took the loot boxes out of Battlefront 2, the game was really unbalanced to where it took I think it was somewhere around 10,000 hours to unlock Vader.
Yeah, I think
and that was that was crazy. I mean, there was crazy amounts of time that it would take to unlock things. And finally,
it was exposing the incentive they were pushing you toward
They were pushing you towards actually buying the loot boxes, buying their...
And when they turned them off, it's like, oh, here's it wide open. See what it actually looks like.
Yes. And so they fixed it. And I have we played Battlefront 2, both of us. It's actually fun now. And I've actually unlocked a few things. The weapons for the different classes, the improved weapons, you unlock them through achievements now. So it's like to get the next better tier weapon for like the heavy gunner, you have to kill 50 people with the heavy gunner.
That'll take me a while.
Yes, in this game, because we go in there and 5 minutes later, dead. Or even 5 seconds later, dead. Damn snipers. Especially on the Geonosis map. But anyway, the EA is apparently still going to fight this decision. But they've caved in. And I think, although they are still going to fight it, I think it is a win for gamers. It's only in Belgium, but the thing is, if Belgium does it, then that puts it even closer to all of the EU basically doing it. Basically on the EU level, making it law that loot boxes are gambling. And if that happens, then all across the EU, EA is going to have to do the same thing that they just did in Belgium. And
I don't know, maybe EA should just concentrate on making good games and sell good games and get more money that way.
True. Very true. And they made the same blanket statement for their investors, saying, "Oh, this is not going to affect our revenue." Or anything like that. It's
right.
If they just focused on making good games, then it wouldn't be a problem. But they are greedy, and the decisions they've made and the things that they've done basically proves that they're greedy. I mean, look at all the different games that they've ruined.
I still don't forgive them for some of those things. Maxis and
they
Spore and
destroyed Maxis and just basically destroyed the SimCity name. There was also this is a different EA problem with those games. And also there was Spore. What they did to Spore is a different EA problem than the loot box issue. And Activision is another company that's really bad for this. Really bad for their loot boxes. In fact, they're in the process of right now destroying Blizzard.
I mean, I play Final Fantasy XIV a lot, and there are a lot of people there who are Warcraft refugees. There's a lot of Warcraft refugees in Final Fantasy right now.
Yeah. But Activision's got other big problems on their hands right now. They've got some legal issues.
When did these people not have legal issues?
Well, they got securities and exchange issues right now that they're dealing with. We'll talk about that at another time when there's more news to cover on that. But yeah, it's a win for gamers, and it shows that if the countries that are investigating loot boxes keeps the pressure up on Electronic Arts, they'll get them to cave on the decision. Electronic Arts was previously going to defy Belgium law and still sell loot boxes. They were going to defy Belgium law, say no, we don't think this is gambling, and they were going to still sell them. But yeah, if they were, a lot of people said, some people in when you look at different videos that were talking about what was going on, some people said, well, they can just stop selling the game in Belgium. And I go, no, they won't. Don't be an idiot. I mean, Belgium's a big market. Belgium is a major country when it comes to football in Europe. You know, the Belgium team is one of the bigger, stronger teams in Europe. And you're going to basically say that EA is going to pull a FIFA branded game out of the biggest football market in Europe. One of the biggest football markets in Europe. You're an idiot if you think they would do that. You are a grade A, USDA grade A idiot if you think they would pull out of that market. And, you know, if you say, oh, they'll stop selling it there, or they'll stop selling in the EU. No, and no, and no. Absolutely not. Because that's a lot of money for them. They absolutely will not do that.
Especially if they're sitting there threatening to defy the EU at some point. Mm-hmm. That tells you they're not going to try to, they're at minimum not going to pull out, and they're willing to, see how much they can push it a little bit.
Yes.
That tells you they're not going anywhere, but that alone, really.
They were testing the waters, I think, to see how far they could push it by defying Belgium law there for a while to see how far they could push it. And I think they realized, no, we can't do this.
They could find themselves banned from the country, and that would be backwards to what they want. That would be a disaster. Yeah.
That would have been bad.
Yeah.
Banned from one of the bigger markets in Europe.
Yeah.
And then they get banned. What thing is, if they get banned from there, then the EU itself and other countries in the EU will take a look and they go, they got banned out of Belgium for this. Maybe we should do the same. So there's a possibility of that, and
they don't want to set a precedent that's going to be a negative for them.
That's definitely why EA did this move. It's not because they learned their lesson. It's not because they go, oh we'll have to do this because it's the law. We have to obey the law. No, they did this to cover their ass. They did this so that they don't get banned, which means that it would increase the possibility that the EU itself would ban them, or other countries in the EU would ban them. That's why they did this. Not because of any good faith decision that they did this. I mean,
I think we have a rap tap tap.
But yeah, I don't believe for a minute that EA really did this on that EA did this out of the goodness of their heart. Absolutely not. And I grew up with Electronic Arts. EA was a great company back then. Now, this was in the 80s and early in the 90s. And they produced some of the best games on, the old retro systems like the Commodore and the Apple II and other systems. And they were a great company. And then just something happened. Something happened about mid-90s. It was right after they got the Madden football franchise on the Sega Genesis, and it was right after that, and they started going heavy corporate, and everything started going downhill from there with them. So they are not the company that they used to be, not the company that I remember. They were a much better company before, but not now. Not now. They are a shallow pale imitation of what they used to be.
Now, who is this? I had to go away for a second.
It's EA.
Oh, yeah.
Very disappointed in what EA has become. Activision is another one of the game companies that survived the crash of '84. Actually, 84. And they too have gone in a very bad direction. Most AAA studios right now are, with the exception of Ubisoft, really, most of the big AAAs are in a free fall. I really do believe we're in the midst of a slow video game crash of the AAAs. They're slowly dying.
I think a lot of it has to do with the repetitive nature of what they release in comparison to what a lot of small indie companies are starting to be able to produce.
Mm-hmm.
That's starting to eat away at them.
Oh,
the more desperate they become, the more screwed up they make stuff. They're beholden to their shareholders. It becomes a big tangled mess, and it shows. Yes. And then the games they make, you got things like Fallout 76 and whatnot. It's just a mounting disaster.
What they produce is consistently buggier. You know, they release games that are in an unfinished state and are completed with download content, with DLC and patches and everything.
Yeah, and some of that you have to buy too.
Yeah, some of it you have to buy, and those also shipped in a broken state, like Fallout 76. That was in a very broken state, mostly because Bethesda sticking with their existing engine, which is a 20-year-old engine.
Mm-hmm.
That they've been shoehorning new technology into to make it work.
And contrast that with a company like Hello Games, who had a terrible launch. There's no denying that.
Mm-hmm.
If that had been EA or Activision, they'd have killed it right on the spot if they'd had launched like that.
Mm-hmm.
But what did Hello Games do? They put their nose to the grindstone and turned the game into something half respectable.
Yep.
It's give it a few more iterations, and it may, reach that stellar game that everyone's always wanted.
Yeah.
And all the additional content they've released has been free.
Mm-hmm. And they've gone radio silent recently, which means they're likely working on
their next update.
Yeah. And they've got some other new game coming out.
If they need anything, they need a PR guy. They need a community manager over there.
Yeah, they definitely need some kind of community. They need a community team, basically. Some group that can stay in contact with the gaming community in No Man's Sky and their other games, and that way you don't have these long periods of radio silence from the company on what's going on.
Which is usual, because we thought that the weekly updates were supposed to kind of eliminate that a little bit, and it has to a point.
Yeah.
But it seems like when they get really busy, they just... Yeah.
As I said, they go completely radio silent. And, you just don't see that from games from EA anymore. You don't see that sort of thing. It's like, their emphasis on annual releases of games. Every year a new version of the same thing.
Oh, and your season passes, which have no content in them.
They were recently forced to innovate or change a little bit. They went to World War I with Battlefield, then World War II. That was because
gotta run out of world wars. You're fresh out of wars.
Yes. I mean, I almost expect them to go to Call of Duty Ancient Rome or something like that. With Activision, or Battlefield going back to the Civil War.
That's probably... I can see that happening.
Yeah, I can see that happening. But just so that they can try something to try and keep those franchises alive, because they've been dying too. And so that brings us into our third topic for today. And this is an EA topic again. I participated in full disclosure, I participated in the closed beta for Anthem. And I was under an NDA. I couldn't say anything about it. I don't know if anything of that NDA has been lifted yet. Well, I would say it has because of the VIP demo that was released recently. The game was good when I played it. I haven't played the demo, but a lot of people have. Angry Joe has. Angry Joe definitely. He had lots to say on this.
He has lots to say all the time.
Boogie2988 looked at it, and it's from BioWare, the people who made Mass Effect and who also made Mass Effect Andromeda. Well, actually, that studio was closed, and so everything was moved to the other BioWare studio. And they're doing this game instead of either another Mass Effect or another Dragon Age. Though I've heard they've got another Dragon Age in the works. But there's a lot of people thinking, and they're probably right to think this, that this is, this is BioWare trying to pump out a Destiny game for Electronic Arts. Trying to pump out one of those kinds of games for them that they can just pump out and then just make tons of money with microtransactions. And there's been some leaks of a few of those microtransactions where there's like an armor skin for $20 for the javelins. $20 for a skin. And I don't know if that's true or not. That's not confirmed that it's true, but it's troubling for the game. And then there's the problem.
It's not a good sign. Anyway.
Not a good sign. And then there's the problems with the demo. Now the BioWare's excuse for the problems with the demo is that it was based on old code that has been already fixed and updated already. This VIP demo. And there were problems of, infinite loading screens and a cutscene for the story at the end of the demo didn't complete. It froze. And people had to skip it. And when they skip it, they get the message saying you'll pre-order the game and everything at the end. And some other problems, like there were enemies that were popping in and out during combat. And some of the AI was sort of brain dead, where some enemies would just stand there and let you blast them.
Is that what I think it was?
Oh. Nope.
Okay. Sounded like the door.
No, that was not the door.
Okay.
So there was a lot of technical problems with the game, and that's got a lot of people worried. And rightly so.
Given the history of all these other companies and all the other things that have been going on, there are these things that are just not good signs.
No, it's not. It's not a good sign at all. It's very troubling, very worrying. And a lot of people are afraid that, this will be the end of BioWare. Because EA has a reputation of closing down companies that don't perform.
The game will have issues. They're doing what they've done before. Then they'll wind up shutting it down, and then they'll wind up killing BioWare in the process because, well, that's what EA does.
Yeah, they are a company killer. They killed off Bullfrog. They killed off Maxis. They killed off Westwood Studios. I can't name all the companies that they've
basically
ended. They've ended Visceral Games. They ended them. They're the makers of Dead Space. Visceral was working on a Star Wars game, and they hired one of the creative people behind the Uncharted series to work on the game. Well, come to find out, they were building a game that was going to be like Uncharted in space. Basically, a Uncharted style Star Wars game. Well, they didn't want that. They wanted something that they could they could put microtransactions into and make money off of it. So they canceled the game. They closed down Visceral. They moved the project over to one of their other studios. And then recently they canceled that. And so there's another game that's in development that is Jedi Fallen Order that is still in development. And we don't even know if that's going to get canceled at some point. And a lot of people are mad about the Star Wars open world game that was canceled. Even the writer for Rogue One said that EA should lose the license for Star Wars, that it should be given to some other company because they have mismanaged it so bad. I know
this would be the last time they screwed something up with Star Wars.
I know this show today has been nothing but bash EA, bash EA, bash. But they make it so easy.
They give you so much to work with. They front load it with so much stuff.
Yes, they make it so easy to bash them. So, getting back to Anthem, what I played of it in the beta was fun. I mean, you feel like Iron Man flying around in the javelin suits. I mean, the flying is really good, and I think it's sort of a combination. The way the game plays, it's sort of a combination of Warframe and Destiny, in a way. It's a looter shooter, a lot like Destiny is, and Warframe and Destiny are basically looter shooters where you kill enemies and you get a lot of loot from them. It's either in equipment that you can add to your javelin or guns that you can upgrade to and use. And that's sort of a MMO light genre like Destiny is. But there's large open world areas and missions, and it was fun. It was actually fun. The ability to fly, the ability to fight while flying, or hover and fight, where you're not, where some games you're given the ability to fly, but then they hamstring your ability to do combat while flying because they don't want you to have some kind of advantage while you're in the air. Well, you can combat enemies on the ground while you're in the air. They let you do it. And it feels really great being able to, fly over some enemies and pelt them with bullets or fire off a volley of missiles while you're in the air. I mean, it makes the game fun. It makes the game fun. And if it ships with these problems, if it ships with, with the server issues and with all these bugs, if it ships with them, it's going to be a disaster. And they even had the same problem with Andromeda, with some of the animations not being that great, character animations being subpar. And that's one of the things that was a problem with Mass Effect Andromeda.
They're too busy being in a hurry, and they're not putting enough attention to detail.
Yeah, and the game is beautiful. I mean, you can definitely say that they put a lot of detail into the world. So they've been working on the art for this game really a lot. They've been putting a lot of work into the artwork. So hopefully BioWare was telling the truth when they said this was old code, that the demo was, it's not going to reflect what the game will be like when it ships. But if it turns out to be a mess, EA might kill BioWare. That's the real danger. And BioWare, they're the company that made, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. There were two of the best Star Wars role-playing games ever made. And they've been trying to make a third, but EA won't let them. I mean, from my understanding, they tried at least 3 or 4 times to get a third KOTOR made. And EA just won't let them. So they're making this, and even EA's CEO said that he regretted getting the Star Wars license. That they wanted to work on their own IPs. So I forget how long they still have this license. It's until 2028. And it's an exclusive license. I mean, I'm sure there has to be some kind of provision in there where Disney can pull out of the deal if they wanted to. They really, really wanted to, or really, really had to. They could. There has to be some kind of.
There probably is something like that, but EA will be like, "Well, we expect some monetary compensation." Blah blah blah.
Yeah. There has to be some kind of provision in the contract that would allow them to, because they really need to give this license to another company. They really need to hand it over to someone else. Maybe Ubisoft or CD Projekt Red. Oh, hand it to them. God. Now, they're in the midst of working on Cyberpunk 2077 right now, but the things that they could do with the Star Wars license. Or even Valve. I mean, give it to Valve or Epic Games. I mean, I'm sure Epic Games would love to have the Star Wars license. But EA, and definitely don't give it to Activision. Oh God, please don't give it to them.
In the news today.
And my camera's froze again.
I have a device that needs replacing.
Yeah.
That thing's gotta go.
Yeah. We need another one. And we even have those heat sinks on it to deal with the heat problem on it. Because that thing gets hot. And I used that thing for a long time. Before we got this machine, before we got the Threadripper system that we're using right now, I used my old machine and I had it hooked up to there for a long time and captured gameplay from that. And it worked fine. Just, I don't know what the issue is with this thing.
It just needs to be replaced.
Yeah, it just needs to be replaced. Okay, so, that's our topics for today. Don't have any other topics for this. Well, it's going to work for now on is the Zorch Central Show is going to be a weekly show for now on. Bi-weekly was too long because the news cycle happens so fast. Things are happening so quickly in the news cycle.
It's even...
Yeah. By the time we get around to the show, it's old. And, everybody has already given their 2 cents on everything. I mean, a lot of the topics we were talking about today are technically a little old now.
Weekly roundup.
Yeah. So... going to be putting in more time into the topics for the show. This was thrown together very quickly. Basically, we just we fixed. It was Sunday. We fixed the audio issues, and we just quickly set up today to do the show today. So next week, same time, we'll be back with another show and more topics, and we'll be more topical and more up to date.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you have anything that you're going to be doing? Are you going to be doing anything with No Man's Sky? Because you had discussed possibly doing either recording or streaming.
I've thought about it. I haven't really decided on that yet.
Okay.
Basically, what I was thinking about doing was a little adventure from basically from 1.0 to 1.1 through all the different updates, traveling through, making the center of the galaxy the boundary between the different versions is kind of the way I was doing it. So I didn't know. I was doing it for myself for fun, but I was discussing the idea of if you thought it was stream worthy or not.
Oh, I think some people would like to see that, be able to see the transition from 1.0 to the current version. You know, playing through the game and seeing how it's different each time.
Well, I think I kind of think it'd be better as an edited video versus a stream, though, wouldn't it?
Probably, because there's already a lot of other channels that have covered No Man's Sky extensively. Like there's DM21
there's a ton of
Cobra TV and L Plays. There's a ton of other channels, but having a video that highlights all the major differences from
some of those out there. I think what surprised me is the one I was playing. The system I started in, one of the glitches with the original was you could do everything literally. You could almost 100% yourself in the first star system. But the thing that surprised me was the first moon that I went to. And I'm looking at this going, and this doesn't exist anymore. This place is real pretty. And it doesn't even exist in the modern one. Yeah. I told Dave later on maybe he can help me because I want to see what the modern version of that world looked like. Pretty teals and blues and greens. It's like, and this is gone? Wow.
Yeah, but they have released those more exotic worlds. With,
there's a lot more now.
Very strange life forms on it.
Mm-hmm.
You ever run into that crystalline life form?
I haven't seen one of those yet.
Yeah, I haven't gotten back into the game yet. Been playing a lot of other stuff lately. Plus, there's the expansion for Final Fantasy 14 that's coming later in the year.
Yeah, I've still got a lot of that to do, and I've got another project that I'm trying to pick back up too.
And Elder Scrolls Online, that's getting an expansion later. They're getting Elsewhere, and Final Fantasy is getting.
You're adding Elsewhere to ESO?
Yep.
Oh, the rest of it, because part of it's there now.
Part of it is there now, but the next expansion is going to be Elsewhere.
Huh.
So that's what they're adding. Seems like they're adding a new expansion at least, and the same release schedule as Final Fantasy.
Yeah, they're kind of mirroring them in some ways. So how much of Tamriel is still missing?
Portions of Cyrodiil still.
Skyrim.
Large portions of Black Marsh, though they did add DLC that adds a lot of Black Marsh to the game.
Yeah.
The rest of Skyrim, you said. They all have all of Vardenfell in the game.
They pretty much finished that off now.
Yeah, they have all of that in the Morrowind expansion.
They're getting there. They're gonna have to decide where they want to go once Tamriel is all in one piece.
Yeah. There's still a few places some portions of High Rock.
They've probably got maybe 1-2 years more of expansions before they finish it off, maybe at the rate they're going.
Yeah, and then after that, they would have to expand out into other areas like,
what's the place to the east?
Akavir,
and then there's some place to the west.
And there's also the northern lands too, where the Nords originally came from.
They could add that, yeah.
There's also those lands. So there's more areas they could go, but they would be going into areas that weren't even in Elder Scrolls Arena, which had everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that was,
well, in a way that gives them some freedom because there's not as much,
Yeah.
So they can they would get a lot more freedom to do more what they wanted at that point.
Yeah.
They would be establishing a lot of lore for the rest of the games too.
Alright, so things I'll be doing, I have Becloring the Professor to get out this weekend. I was going to get it out earlier, but I'll have it out this weekend. The next chapter in the series that I've been working on. Also, some more videos for Gamers Bay. And Old Gamer Plays next, and an Old Gamer Plays will be coming back. So I'll be covering another Atari 2600 game. And then on this channel, another Random Thoughts. I've got some ideas on the next game to cover for that. And I'll be doing more live streaming. I might bring back Warframe Wednesday. I've been thinking about that. I also want to do some more with the Final Fantasy and also Elder Scrolls Online and some other games. And there's so many other games that I'd like to cover. Like this month, the new Far Cry 5 game comes out. Far Cry 5 New Dawn comes out. But I may not be able to cover that this month. I may have to wait till next month to do that. And because we have to buy all of our games out of pocket on the channel. We don't have any other revenue streams for the channel, so we can't pay for games out of business expenses for the channel. What other projects going? I'd say that's about it. More videos coming. And that's all the other projects from you that you may do on your channel.
I haven't really been doing much on it.
Okay. The last thing to talk about is the thing going on with Google+. It's now official that Google+ will be shutting down April 2nd. So, a lot sooner than we were expecting. And so that means the Gamers Bay community will be going away then. And we've moved to MeWe. That is, that's the social network that was created by Sir Berners-Lee, guy that created the World Wide Web at CERN. He created MeWe. He helped start it. And so we moved there, and we're going to be ramping up promotion of that community to get people who are formerly from Google Plus to move there, and then other new members. So we're working on getting new members there because we had almost 20,000 people on Google Plus in Gamers Bay, and so we don't have nearly as many right now on the MeWe side. So we're working to build that up. So I urge you to anybody watching the stream, joining us today, check out our community on MeWe and consider joining. It's a social network that puts your privacy first because they don't sell your data or track you or anything like that. And so that's it for the show today. I don't have any other topics or anything. As I said, this was a quick throw together to get the show, back up and running. We'll have a lot more topics next time, a lot more to talk about. So I've been Mike.
This is Tygra.
And we'll see you guys next time.